And then finish on a bigger scale. Who knows?
No, we'll get one division, that's it.
Done.
Yeah, well, okay, great. Let's get the hell out of here.
The following message from the Senate has been received. The Senate returns to the House of Representatives a bill for an act to amend the law relating to the environment and for related purposes, and informs the House that the Senate has agreed to the bill with the amendments in the annexed schedule. The Senate requests the concurrence of the House in the amendments. And I give the call to the Leader of the House.
Amendments be considered immediately.
I'll put the question. Those opinions say aye. Against no. I think the ayes have it. I understand it is the wish of the House to consider the amendments together. The Prime Minister.
Thanks, Mr Speaker, and I move that the amendments be agreed to. Mr Speaker, these reforms are a win for business, a win for our natural environment and a win for the country. They mean more investment, more jobs, more housing and more infrastructure. And they protect something that every Australian values and has a deep connection to, our treasured and unique natural environment. We know that the current laws are broken. They are not working for our environment and they are not working for industry. And today we fix them. Today we fix them. Approval times for new projects have blown out. There is a lack of certainty for investment, a lack of certainty for business. We need quicker yeses and quicker nos, delivering more jobs, more renewable energy projects, more homes for Australians, delivering for workers in the forest industry by investing in their jobs. Those things are so important for our nation's future. And we need to protect the environment that we cherish with a National Environment Protection Agency. This is an Australian first. The Samuel Review was commissioned by the Coalition and then ignored. They treated the recommendations with contempt, and with their heckling here this morning, they show that they still do. But have a look at the Australian Financial Review about what Graham Samuel himself says about these reforms. He says that these reforms are completely in line with the recommendations that he made back in 2020 for a legislative review after 10 years, of course, of operation of the Act, but that was commissioned by the Coalition. That is the blueprint that we took in good faith into negotiations with all sides of the House and the Senate. Tragically, the mess that sits opposite us was incapable of coming up with plans that were consistent, that made sense, and they changed their position from hour to hour, coming up with furphies about radioactivity and all sorts of things that needed to be included. And in their final documentation from the Coalition, it said, oh, and there's more. This is yesterday afternoon. They couldn't tell us what their amendments would be. Well, what we did achieve was a majority in the Senate, and I thank all those senators who voted for this legislation. And I thank and give praise to my Environment Minister, Senator Watt. More than 120 meetings to get this through. The template for consultation with our party's committee process and with our party membership. The template for consultation with our state governments, particularly WA Premier Cook, who has welcomed these reforms. Premier Cook put forward 5 changes that he wanted. He got 5 out of 5 ticked off and delivered. I thank the fact that Senator Hanson-Young and Senator Waters were prepared to be flexible and prepared to not allow the perfect to be the enemy of the good.
Order.
This was a yes-alition.
Order.
A
Members on my
yes-alition.
left.
People who wanted reform, making a big difference on housing, energy, critical minerals and resources projects that make a difference, unleashing our nation's capability and backing our economy, because a stronger economy and cleaner environment depend on each other. And with these laws, our government is delivering both.
Question is the amendments be agreed to, and I give the call to the Leader of the Opposition.
Greens Alliance is well and truly back in business, because we've listened to you, Prime Minister, every question time laid into the Greens, but today into the best thing coming. The Greens are amazing.
Order.
So nice to the Greens. This is economy wrecking, Mr. Speaker. The amendments are economy wrecking.
Order,
And
members.
this
The Leader of the Opposition
had to
will
ram
cease.
through.
No. The Minister for Employment is warned. There's too much noise, stating the obvious. Everyone, calm down. The Leader of the Opposition will also continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There were many people that the Prime Minister didn't reference in his remarks that need to be referenced. These are the people who pay the country's bills, who provide jobs, who make our country strong, and who have been completely ignored by the bill and by the amendments. The Minerals Council called it inferior and disappointing. Energy producers have said this deal will put all approvals in the slow lane. You see, that's what's really going to happen here. If you want approvals for resources projects for gas, I thought, Prime Minister, you had a future gas strategy. You have no gas strategy now. You have nothing to provide the power and the affordability to bring people's energy prices down. Energy producers said this will delay the new gas that has to come online to keep our electricity grid functioning. And the Business Council of Australia has said this will create new barriers. Industry, farmers, energy producers, the people who pay the bills have said this is rubbish, this is garbage. We have been constructive, Mr. Speaker, at every step.
Order.
But we're here not for lazy deals with the Greens. We're here for the people of Australia. We're here for the people who we care about. We're not here for dirty deals with the Greens. We understand how hard-working Australians are struggling. Because, you know, this has not been a year of delivery for Australians. This has not been a year of delivery. What has this Prime Minister delivered? He has delivered inflation up, cost of living up, power prices up, and now every approval that he said this legislation would fix is in the slow lane. Because there is no way that these amendments and this bill are going to make anything better in the way that you, Prime Minister, and this government said. Because when it comes to it, it's all about the political fix. That's what it was all about. We had the Environment Minister walking around Parliament with two sets of amendments, one for the Greens, one for the Coalition. He never really cared about these ones. The deal was only ever going to be done with the Greens. We know what that means. We know what was going on. We know a political fix when we see one, Mr. Speaker. And this is what we've seen. Because desperate for something, anything, for the last week and the last day, this piece of rubbish was pulled out of the hat. Because this could have gone on to next year. 1,500 pages of legislation could have been properly consulted on, could have been done methodically, could have been done systematically. But after a disastrous year of no delivery, with inflation and interest rates rising, we had to have this. Shame on this government for letting down the people of this country who pay the bills, who keep our country strong. And I talk a lot, Mr. Speaker, about Made in Australia. About Made in Australia. Because we know that under this amendment, this legislation, there won't be anything made in Australia. We won't have a Made in Australia. Prime Minister, what happened to the future made in Australia? You know that thing? $22 billion, big front door, all this excitement. How much of the $22 billion of your future made in Australia fund
the Leader of the Opposition will pause.
A big, fat zero.
The Leader of the I can't hear the Leader of the Opposition because everybody is interjecting. So, the member for Hume, the member for Groom, if everyone can cease interjecting. Well, everyone is yelling on your own leader. So if everyone on this side can stop yelling, and if ministers in particular can cease interjecting, the Leader of the Opposition's time has concluded. The question is the amendments be agreed to, and I give the call to the member for Ryan.
Thank you, Speaker. So how does positive change happen? It's not just granted by major party politicians and bureaucrats here in Canberra, who often make it their job to uphold the interests of massive corporations of the ultra-wealthy. Positive progress, more often than not, runs counter to those interests. Positive change in the short, medium and long term only comes when there is a movement of everyday people working together for their shared interests. Positive change comes when that movement of everyday people is represented by politicians and a political party genuinely independent of the influence of big corporations. Today we pass significant new environmental legislation, and I am proud to say that it represents positive change. It represents a forward step. I want to thank the government for their ultimately positive negotiations and Senator Sarah Hanson-Young, my colleague and friend, for her vigilance, who joins us from the other place, for her strength and her vigilance and her indomitable focus on these negotiations and her long history of fighting for the environment and for the interests of Australian people. Only a few days ago, Labor's proposed legislation represented a backward step. A great deal for big mining and logging corporations, terrible for the rest of us who want to live a good life on this beautiful planet. What changed? Well, the Greens here in Parliament, because of the work of tens of thousands of volunteers, stood up for the interests of the many against the interests of the few. We were backed by thousands of campaigners and community organisations who just didn't accept Labor's backward step. Let's not be mistaken. This represents a single step forward. That's the best we could get for now. But it points to positive change and how that happens. The bigger we are, the more people who mobilise, the more Greens MPs there are in Parliament. I know you'd love that. You love that.
Order.
The bigger the positive steps we will achieve until we've replaced every single politician who is beholden to big corporations, with representatives who are beholden instead to everyday people. And it's then we'll win the future we all deserve, where massive disparities of wealth are a thing of the past, where everyone has what they need to live a good life, a place they can really call home, time for family and friends, and a clean and protected environment. It shouldn't have to be like this. We shouldn't have to fight like this, but we do. So to everyone who has fought for positive change, I say keep it up. And on protecting our native forests and protection against land clearing, the Greens won genuine positive steps. If Labor had their way under the original bill, big logging corporations would still be destroying our native forests. The Greens have negotiated the end of the Regional Forest Agreement, exemptions from the EPBC Act over 18 months.
The member for Ryan will pause. The Leader of the Opposition on a point of order.
A point of order, Mr Speaker, and it goes to the order of the House. The member for Ryan, the new Deputy Prime Minister, is not sitting in her seat behind the Prime Minister.
Resume your seat.
That's right.
All right. Order. No. It was a frivolous point of order. The member for Ryan will continue.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Speaker.
Order.
The Greens have negotiated the end of the RFAs, exemptions from the EPBC Act, over 18 months, the major mechanism that was allowing this appalling practice to continue. We also got improvements on land clearing, meaning it will be significantly harder to clear regrowth forest that also provides important habitat for wildlife. If Labor had their way under their original bill, those loopholes would have actually remained. We've secured a new definition of high-risk vegetation that will make it harder to clear vegetation in the Great Barrier Reef catchment area. Surely we all think that that's a good idea, something UNESCO has repeatedly called for, knowing that unregulated vegetation clearing is a huge threat to the World Heritage values of the reef. In other areas, we've stopped Labor's bill from making things worse. We excluded coal and gas projects from the fast-track approval pathways and exemptions in Labor's original bill. If Labor had got what they wanted, which is basically what Chevron, BHP and the coal and gas corporations wanted, coal and gas project could have been approved even faster than they already are, some as quickly as 30 days and with next to no public consultation.
The member's time has expired. I understand there was agreement in place. 4 speakers. Order. The question is the amendments be agreed to, and I give the call to a member for Moncrieff.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, Frankenstein's monster is the new creation of Labor's and Greens' dirty deal in the dead of night on the EPBC Act. And the Prime Minister and his Mr Fixer, Queensland, the great state of Queensland, the great resources state, Queensland Senator Murray Watt has appeased the Labor's backbench, the left flank of the Labor's backbench, and caved in to allow a new environmental protection agency with excessive powers and too little oversight. Their new Frankenstein CEO will have the power to mark its own homework and to create its own rules.
Shame.
Now, not even Graham Samuel wanted this unnatural creation. He said nothing about an unholy alliance between the Labor Party and the new Deputy Prime Minister sitting over there, the member for Ryan. He reconfirmed in the 3-day Senate inquiry into this bill that he wanted a commissioner, not a CEO with unreserved powers. And so I put on record that the coalition pushed for a fully accountable CEO who could be sacked for underperformance. This Labor-Greens deal will stifle growth, undermine industry, and it will jeopardise our nation's prosperity. What else has job-creating business said about this bill? What else has everybody else said? The Minerals Council, the deal between the federal government and the Greens to pass the Environment Protection Reform Bill 2025 and related bills is an inferior and disappointing outcome, which fails to strike the right balance between protecting Australia's unique environment while enabling responsible and efficient project development. I want to be absolutely clear. The Coalition has never blocked sensible environmental reform. We have engaged in good faith throughout this process.
Members on my right.
We have engaged in good faith, and we have done so because we believe that Australia needs certainty and not chaos under this Labor government. Now, we need evidence-based policy, not ideological experiments under this government. Australian energy producers, what did they say? Well, by conceding to the Greens, the government has chosen more red tape and more uncertainty instead of enabling new gas supply. I'm sure the Resources Minister is a little bit worried at this point in time about what's going on. Now, what about the Agriculture Minister? Is she worried? The National Farmers Federation has said, as stewards of more than half of Australia's environment, farmers understand the importance of doing the right thing by the land. They've also historically borne the brunt of complex federal environment laws, often at odds with state obligations. That's why the NFS have supported genuine reform, but not this deal.
No, exactly.
Now, what about, let's turn to Western Australia. Now, there's nothing that the Western Australian Premier can do to stop the sweeping powers of the left-wing Labor caucus in Canberra and their new, unshackled, unrestrained job-ruining EPA. There's nothing he can do from Western Australia. Roger Cook has betrayed Western Australia, and this government and the Prime Minister has betrayed the Australian economy, investment, productivity and Australian jobs. Across the board in resources, energy, agriculture and business, remember the BCA, the message is the same. The deal makes approvals longer, more uncertain, more litigious and less workable. And Australians are rightly disappointed in a government that's chosen political headlines over the national interests. And what do they say in the other powerhouse resources state? Oh, that's right, the state where the minister is from, a resources state of Queensland. Premier David Crisafulli said, to think that we could be held to the mercy of a radical Greens movement in Canberra. He means the new Deputy Prime Minister over there, when we're trying to build roads, deliver infrastructure, secure the future of the mining industry. That sends a shiver down my spine. And I just can't believe that we've reached the point where that could be the case. What else did the Queensland Premier say? It's disastrous. That's what he said. And Australians should be very aware that a vote for Labor is a vote for the Greens. A vote for Labor is a vote for the Greens.
Order.
The Greens voting for Labor and voting for Greens is a vote for less jobs, it's a vote for higher cost of living, it's a vote for higher energy prices, and the Coalition will always fight for jobs, for cheaper energy and for the environment.
Question is, the amendments be agreed to. Give the call to the member for Wentworth.
I won't keep people from their families for very long, but I just wanted to speak and say I think that this is a positive deal both for the environment and both for business. And I think this is the deal that we did need as a parliament. My community constantly talks to me about their concern for the environment, but I represent a significant business community who also wants to see faster approvals and certainty. Now, I believe that this bill is imperfect, and I would like to see, there are things I would certainly change, but I think that this is a positive move for the House, and I congratulate the Minister and the Greens, and particularly Sarah Hanson-Young, for the work they did in terms of delivering both positive changes for the environment but also some important amendments that also deliver for business. And for those on the Conservative side of Parliament, I say conservation is actually at the heart of being Conservative. This is about protecting our environment for future generations. This is really important. I'm sorry that we haven't had a deal across the entire Parliament, but this is a positive deal.
The question is the amendments be agreed to. Give the call to the Prime Minister.
Thanks very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the member for Wentworth for her comments. She indeed is an electorate. That is one of, perhaps she's competing with the member next to her for the most number of business leaders of any electorate in Australia. But they also understand that the environment is an important part of social licence as well. And one of the things that we tried to balance with this legislation
the manager of opposition
was to
business.
do just that. There have been comments about negotiations that took place. And the final message from the Coalition included this. After a full pages of list, there are other matters on the secondary list that require a discussion with the Minister. That was like Wednesday afternoon. So there's other things as well. We've got a secondary list, we've got a primary list, and then we've got another list. What we did was negotiate in good faith with everyone across the Parliament. We also engaged very directly with business.
Order.
Seriously.
Prime Minister will resume. We'll pause and the manager will take his point of order.
In the House, it is in no way good faith to be telling a one-sided story about the negotiations. We could tell stories about the negotiations as well.
The Prime Minister can continue.
Well, the member was one of the few ones who weren't, because there were people in, there were people out. They all had different positions, and that's the problem. That's the problem. The Leader of the Opposition stood before this dispatch box and actually said that
No, the member for Moncrieff will withdraw that. We're going to follow the rules today, like every other day.
Withdraw.
The Prime Order will keep the House respectful. Prime Minister in continuation.
The Leader of the Opposition stood here just before and spoke about how good a year 2025 have been for them and how bad it's been for us. Well, may that continue. May that continue, Mr Speaker.
The Leader of the Opposition, a point of order.
On relevance, rhetoric aside, the Prime Minister has to be relevant to the amendments before the House.
Yeah. And the Leader of the Opposition, I've given a lot of leeway, including discussion about preferences, about negotiations with parties, which was not part of the bill. So it does go both ways. The Prime Minister.
Yes, Mr Speaker, these reforms have been endorsed by Graham Samuel, who was handpicked to do the review, the Association of Mining Exploration Companies, the Australian Industry Group, the Property Council of Australia, the Housing Industry Association, Urban Development Institute of Australia. Last time I looked at an ALP national conference, they weren't there as delegates. All endorsed. All endorsed. The fact is that this comes from a review
the member for Lyne
going back to 2020. We made it very, very clear, including when I went to the National Press Club, multiple press conferences, there was no secret that we wanted to get this done this year because we want faster approvals to commence quicker. We want protection of the environment to occur sooner. That is what we made very clear. And when I went to the National Press Club after the election in June, I made it clear that this was going to be the year of delivery. This has been the year in which we've delivered the commitments that we took to the election. One by one, ticking them off. And today we tick off a really important one that will resonate not for a year or 2 years, but will make a real difference for our sons and daughters, our grandsons and granddaughters. This is generational change. This is reform that has been a long time coming, and it is a proud day for me as Labor leader to once again, in the tradition of great Labor environmental reforms, to be passing this bill.
Question is the amendments be agreed to. Put the question. Those opinions say aye. Against no. I think the ayes have it. Division required. Ring the bells for 4 minutes. Lock the doors. The question is the Senate amendments be agreed to. The ayes will pass to the right of the chair and the noes to the left. Appoint the honourable members for Werriwa and Bean as tellers for the ayes, and the honourable members for Bowman and Hinkler as tellers for the noes. The result of the division is ayes 89, noes 34. The matter was resolved in the affirmative. The following message from the Senate has been received. The Senate returns to the House of Representatives a bill for an act to amend the law relating to education, overseas students and family assistance and for related purposes, and informs the House that the Senate has agreed to the bill with the amendments in the annexed schedule. The Senate requests the concurrence of the House in the amendments immediately. Give a call to the Leader of the House.
I move that the amendments be considered immediately.
I'll put the question. Those opinions say aye. Against no. I think the ayes have it. I understand that it is the wish of the House to consider the amendments together. Give a call to the Minister for Education.
Thanks, Mr Speaker, and I move that the amendments be agreed to. I want to thank the Shadow Minister for the constructive approach with which he's engaged with me and my office on this bill. In this case, the opposition has proposed sensible amendments that have been refined in collaboration with the government that make this a better bill and provide a good example of what we can do when we work together. I look forward to working with the Shadow Minister and all members of Parliament to make further improvements to future legislation. And with that, Merry Christmas.
The question is the amendments be agreed to, and I give the call to the honourable member for Barara.
I just wanted to record the fact that the Coalition supports the integrity in the tertiary education sector, and that's why we support the bill. We moved 6 amendments to this bill to address issues that have been raised with us by the stakeholders from across the tertiary education and childcare sectors. These amendments include safeguard mechanisms that will apply in relation to far-reaching new ministerial powers, to automatically suspend and cancel specified courses, amendments to protect competition in the higher education sector, including a change in relation to TAFE, which was proposed by the government and which we're happy to accede to, additional guardrails around the information gathering powers in the bill, including the removal of retrospectivity, additional requirements that the Secretary must satisfy before he can exercise those powers, and the sunsetting of powers when they're no longer needed, and a review mechanism after 2 years. These amendments, as the Minister says, materially improve the bill, and I commend them to the House.
The question is the amendments be agreed to. I'll put the question. Those opinions say aye. Against no. I think the ayes have it. I've received messages from the Senate returning the following bills without amendment or requests. The Natural Environment Protection Agency Bill 2025, Environment Information Australia Bill 2025, Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Restoration Charge Imposition Bill 2025 without requests, Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation General Charges Imposition Bill 2025 without requests, Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Customs Charges Imposition Bill 2025 without requests, Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Excise Charges Imposition Bill 2025 without requests, Home Affairs Legislation Amendment 2025 Measures 2 Bill 2025, Communications Legislation Amendment, Australian Content requirement for subscription video on-demand streaming services Bill 2025, Treasury Laws Amendment strengthening financial systems and other measures Bill 2025, Regulatory Reform Omnibus Bill 2025, strengthening oversight of the National Intelligence Community Bill 2025, Veterans Affairs Legislation Amendment Miscellaneous Measures No. 1 Bill 2025, Vet Student Loans Miscellaneous Measures Bill 2025 and Customs Tariff Amendment Geelong Treaty Implementation Bill 2025. Order. I have received advice from the Honourable the Prime Minister nominating a... Order. I've received advice from the Honourable the Prime Minister nominating a member to be a member of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security. Give the call to the Leader of the House.
I ask leave of the House to move a motion for the appointment of a member to serve on the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security.
Is leave granted? The Manager of Opposition Business.
Leave is granted.
Leave is granted. Give the call. Order. Give the call to the Leader of the House.
I move that in accordance with the provisions of the Intelligence Services Act 2001, Mr Thompson, the member for Herbert, be appointed a member of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security.
I'll put the question. Those opinions say aye. Against no. I think the ayes have it. I have received a message from the Senate informing the House that Senator Duniam has been appointed a member of the Parliamentary Joint Committee on Intelligence and Security. Give the call to the Leader of the House.
Mr Speaker, while I'd love to keep the place running, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and see you in 2026, I'll move that the House to now adjourn.
I'll put the question. Those opinions say aye. Aye. Against no. The ayes have it. The House stands adjourned until Tuesday, 3rd January 2026 at 12 noon. Thank you.